Well, we've heard all this before, but what's new now? What really has changed here? Let's welcome in our first guest tonight, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus and Newsmax contributor, Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, great to talk to you again. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
This new development involving Adam Schiff today, where he apparently had access to this whistleblower's report or information in the report before it was actually filed. How troubling is this? There have been a lot of concerns, a lot of Republicans saying that this was a hit job, it was a coordinated attack on the president. What do you think about this new development involving Adam Schiff?
Well, I think it's great grist for the political mill. You know, the Democrats will see it one way, the Republicans will see it another way. But let's remember the Constitutional Convention were very, very serious. They had to do with separation of powers and the nature of our republic. It's being abused today as it was abused by the Republicans when they went after Bill Clinton, and it was abused 100 and something years ago when they went after Andrew Johnson. The only time that we've ever had a legitimate impeachment inquiry was for Richard Nixon. And I think the Democrats are making a terrible mistake by misusing the impeachment power and the investigative power for partisan purposes.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are wondering what the real end game of the Democrats are here. And, you know, we've heard about the subpoena cannons before involving the Mueller probe. Now there's new subpoenas here. Do you think the White House is going to comply with these new subpoenas we're hearing from House Democrats? Should they comply?
No, they should not comply. Neither should the State Department comply. If they believe that this is an improper investigation and they believe they have the right to refuse, they should make the Congress go to court. The members of the State Department, the Secretary of State, the White House, they all have legitimate claims of legal rights. And Adam Schiff shouldn't be threatening the State Department with obstruction of justice for merely exercising their own constitutional powers. This is a great debate over separation of powers. Congress is a coordinate branch of the government, but so is the executive. And the executive has the right to claim executive privilege and other privileges. And by claiming that, they don't obstruct justice. What they do is they demand that the rule of law operate and apply to them. Leave it to the courts. That's the third branch of government. And once the courts decide, then I think both branches have an obligation to comply. You know, we hear so much from Congress that no one is above the law, referring to the president. That's true, but Congress is not above the law. And the impeachment provisions of the Constitution are fairly specific. Congress was not given the power to impeach based on maladministration, which is what some framers wanted to do, but it was rejected by the framing generation. And the Constitution doesn't include that power.
Do you think what Democrats are actually trying to do with all these subpoenas is still try to find that smoking gun? Because we don't have a smoking gun yet.
I don't think they expect to find a smoking gun. What they may be trying to do is create a smoking gun, not find it, create it. That is, by pushing so hard, do what perhaps the Congressional committee did during the Nixon impeachment. That is, they created impeachable offenses by pushing the White House into obstructing justice and into engaging in impeachable offenses. This White House is not going to do that. They've learned the lesson of the Nixon White House. They will fight in the courts. And therefore, I don't think the Democrats will be able to create impeachable offenses or find them. Now, we have to keep an open mind. If anybody in the executive branch did anything that rises to the level of impeachable offense, let's know about it. But right now, I haven't seen anything that even comes close.
Let's take a listen to something that President Trump said today about Adam Schiff. Here he is.
He actually made it up. It should be criminal. It should be treasonous. He made it up, every word of it, made up, and read to Congress as though I said it. And I'll tell you what, he should be forced to resign from Congress.
What about this aspect? Of course, President Trump talking about Adam Schiff earlier, making up a part of the phone call. He admitted it was, quote unquote, parody. But President Trump seems to think that's grounds for Schiff's removal.
No, it's not. And it's not grounds for treason. Look, let's stop weaponizing the criminal justice system by both sides. President Trump shouldn't be threatening treason prosecutions, and the Democrats shouldn't be threatening impeachment prosecutions. Let's leave this as a political debate. Let the voters decide. We're only a year and a month away from election. The voters should decide this. Let both sides bang the table all they want. Let both sides accuse the other side of whatever they want to accuse them of. But let's keep impeachment out of this. Let's keep the courts out of this as much as possible. Let's not try to weaponize the criminal justice system or the impeachment mechanism of the Constitution.
I think we could say it's probably too late for that, unfortunately, Professor Dershowitz. How do we come back from where we are right now?
Well, I think that we're seeing the system of checks and balances operate quite efficiently. I think it really does show the brilliance of the founding generation. The executive is refusing to comply. The legislature is threatening to subpoena. The judiciary is making decisions as cases are brought to them. The system is working, and I think it will continue to work. The Democrats can, if they choose, impeach. Impeachment is very easy. It's like indictment. You know, it was the chief judge in New York who once said you can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. I think when the Democrats control the House, you can get the House to impeach a ham sandwich. The problem is that the Senate requires a 2/3 vote, which is the way the framers said, let's not make impeachment partisan. Let's require it to be bipartisan. And the only way you ever get impeachment succeeding in removing is if you have both parties. The reason Nixon was forced to resign is Republicans started joining the campaign to impeach, and he saw the darkness at the end of the tunnel, and he saw he had no choice. But right now, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can take a look at the polling on this right now. According to CNN, Wall Street Journal had an opinion piece on this. It basically said Americans right now, according to a polling, they're not for impeachment quite yet. A new CNN poll says 47% are in favor of impeaching President Trump. That's a 6-point gain since May, but at the same point that it was at about a year ago in December of 2018. Meanwhile, a new Politico Morning Consult poll shows 46% of Americans support the impeachment inquiry. You know as well as anybody, Professor Dershowitz, this is much a political question as a legal question, but I think it matters less on how popular impeachment is with Americans and more on how popular President Trump is with Americans.
That's true. And also the poll should break it down by Democrat and Republicans. In order to have impeachment succeed removal, you'd need a substantial number of Republicans. And again, there's a myth out there because Hamilton used the term political in Federalist 65 that impeachment is purely a political process. It's not. If it were, we would simply have a system like in Great Britain or in Israel, where the parliament have a vote, and if they don't have a vote of confidence, the government fails. That's not the framers' intention here. The framers' intention was to let the president serve for years unless he committed treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. And I don't think we've reached that threshold, and I think the Senate agrees with that. And therefore, there won't be a removal unless there is evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors. And right now, that's just not even close.
And I think it would do everybody in America a favor to go read the Constitution, read how the checks and balances work, and take a deep breath on this whole situation. Real quickly, Professor Dershowitz, before we go, I wanted to talk about your new book you have coming out in November. We talked about this before, but the New York Post wrote an article about it last night saying you're about to stir things up again. The book is called Guilt by Accusation, The Challenge of Proving Innocence in the Age of Me Too. Tell us about it, and what else can we expect?
Well, people say to me all the time, well, why don't you just be quiet and this will go away? I don't want it to go away. I want to prove categorically that I was falsely accused. I want to point the finger at my false accusers. I want to point the finger at at the lawyers. I'm not hiding from anything. Truth is on my side. I have all the evidence, and I will conclusively prove in my book, Guilt by Accusation, that these people have been abusing a Me Too movement. The Me Too movement is a good movement, and I think it's done a lot of good by exposing actual predators. But when people exploit the movement for their own personal profit and falsely accuse innocent people, it hurts the Me Too movement. Of course, it hurts the innocent people, and I want to write about it. I don't want to be silent about it. Victims should speak out, and I'm a victim of a false accusation. And my voice is as much entitled to be heard as any other victim. So I'm writing and I'm speaking, and I'll come back and talk about it when the book comes out. I'm not hiding anything. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide whatsoever. I'm very proud of everything I did in my life. And so I'm writing about that, and I'm writing about it with great pride.
Well, I look forward to reading it, and we'd love to have you back. A lot of things I'd like to talk to you about in the near future. Other than impeachment, we want to talk about Israel, what's going on over there, too, and so many things to talk about with you, as always, Professor Dershowitz. We'll have you back. very soon. We got to give everybody an update on what's going on over there.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel. Newsmax TV is now available for free on your smartphone. Just go to your iPhone or Android store and download the free Newsmax TV app. Then you can watch free TV news with an American spin anytime, anywhere in the world. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.